reach and what we do. So the core business is content aggregation. So basically, we are a digital distributor, and we provide various different platforms with content, music, as well as video. Currently on the continent, we have a footprint in 10 different countries that are listed there: South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, Rwanda, Swaziland, Zambia, and Cameroon, with offices in South Africa, Nigeria, and one in Ghana. Our local representative, Mark, he's currently manning our booth in the corner. So for additional information, feel free to just swing by there and say hello to Mark and get some information. The core business. So we do content curation. So curating is basically, we do playlists, we put the right content where it needs to be. We create content. Recently, we started investing in the creation of content, whether it be audio, whether it be music video, whether it actually be different kinds of video content like lifestyle, wildlife, sports, and the like. So that is also because the reality of which we've realized is that local content is king. And lastly, back to the core business, digital distribution. And then just some added value services that we also provide in terms of, as I said again, creating content, so we do recording. Music publishing, so we have friends within the industry, so the likes of Universal Publishing, the likes of Sony Publishing, and other publishers. We often push artists in those directions whenever that service is required. We assist in marketing and strategy of content, making sure that your content is seen, because it's not, the reality is we work in a revenue split, so that means when you make money, we make money. So it's in our best interest that you make money. So we help you market and strategize as to how your content can be can be seen. Live music events, so we also act as a booking agent when required, as well as synchronization deals. We've secured a couple of synchronization deals with the likes of MTN actually as well, in the past as well. And just a quick snapshot of all the platforms where we provide content. So this is all, and more information can be found out at the back there with Mark. And just to add, and also Viva Nation TV is a CCG/CCA and CCI owned video streaming property, which will also be launching soon, so look out for that. All right, so now we're going to move on to the topics of discussion. So I've been asked to talk about there are three questions that were posed to me, of which I'm going to elaborate a bit more on each of them. The first one being, is streaming the new goldmine? Followed by smart and effective methods to market and distribute music content, and then finally, global copyright trends. For the last part, global copyright trends, I believe there's a gentleman by the name of Jonathan from Gamro, who will also be joining me on that section to talk about the local copyright in Ghana. So we'll start with the first one, is streaming the new goldmine? So for that kind of question, it's a question which is asking basically, is there value in streaming? Of which, to give you the simple answer, the answer is yes. To give you some stats and figures, last year in 2018, there were over 500 billion streams worldwide, and that's just for audio. I mean, and the year before that, it was around 300 billion, so there's been an increase of 200 billion streams globally. If we're to, and we mustn't limit to streaming to just audio, because there is also video streaming. And I mean, if you include video streaming with that, together it came up to over 800 billion streams in total. That means there's value because we're seeing big growth in that area. So now, the way I've divided this up is, I wanted to divide it up to show the value that streaming is bringing to the different platforms, as well as the value that streaming is bringing to the artists or labels. Oh, by the way, yesterday, I recently even heard that Netflix, for example, which is, I'm sure you're all familiar with Netflix? Yes? Nice. So Netflix recently, they increased the cost to subscribe to their platform. And also the other thing I found out is that if you were to invest in Netflix when it had started in 2007, with $1,000, today you'd have been looking at around over $90,000 that's the value of what it would be. So obviously, once again, that just shows in reality that there is value in streaming. So now, let me start with the platforms. So a platform, for example, the likes of Netflix, or we can go to Spotify or iTunes, whichever one. But what they've done is, the first thing they did is they created accessibility to content, whether it's music or audio. And they saw the value in creating accessibility over the value of a sale. Originally, the original plan was, or the original model was, you buy a CD, you buy it once off, you walk away with your content, and it's done. But now, because of this shift, now basically the consumers are happy to pay a subscription monthly to be able to access as much content as they want for that period of time. Next, so accessibility is one of the things that made it the value in accessibility of content. And you're able to access millions of songs, millions of videos online now. And also, what this has also done to increase the value is created better music tracking, and that equals to more accurate reports. So now, I'm going to touch on that a bit later again when it comes to the artist. And I have to say, one of the biggest things that streaming has provided is tackled piracy. To date, the world hasn't figured out, or those that do such haven't figured out how to pirate streaming as yet, which is definitely a good thing, because over a decade within the industry, the industry has been plagued with piracy, which has caused a lot of problems. But because this has now been tackled also, there's a lot more new investments happening. There's more technologies. We're seeing more platforms popping up. And this is purely because, it's attributed to the fact that piracy is finally under control with this. I mean, and with the new investments into these new platforms, we're seeing new models also arising, one of which are the Music Time, which is from MTM. Other models, internationally, we've seen other big investments happen, such as iTunes, I believe, last year acquired Shazam, where we haven't yet seen the fruit of that acquisition yet, but I'm sure soon we'll be seeing smarter speakers, where you'll be able to speak to your speaker, and your speaker will play a song for you based on the tune that you play it. Spotify, again, also, they just recently acquired DistroKid. DistroKid was an aggregation company, but now it's been acquired by Spotify, allowing people to upload directly onto the platforms. So these are the new models which are starting to arise thanks to this this win that we have against piracy. Next, I'm going to touch on the artist or the label. I'm going to touch on the artist/label. So again, the big win, which everyone I thought would be happy to hear, is that piracy has been tackled. So I mean, that's a win, guys. As in, yeah, that's a big win for the industry as a whole. One of the things also that streaming has done is it's increased the amount of unique songs that are getting played. I believe last year, over 3 million completely unknown artists, completely unknown, are having their content streamed because it's more accessible to the consumer now. Thanks to certain functions such as, if you like this song, you will like this song. People's curiosity. So therefore, it's creating a platform for now the artist that necessarily hasn't had their song played on radio, hasn't had their music video played on TV. There's still an opportunity for them to generate revenue. As well as that, the focus has also shifted for the artist or label. The power now is in your followership and your engagement now over the sale. Because if you have big followers on the likes of platforms such as Spotify, if you have big followers on social media platforms and you can engage with them on a daily, when now it's time and you've got a new song and it's on a platform where people can stream it, whether it's exclusive or not, it's now there and you can direct your fan base there. And I mean, the bigger the fan base, that means the bigger the listenership. And the bigger the listenership, that means the bigger the opportunity to make money. I believe on a platform such as Spotify, if you were to hit 1 million streams, 1 million streams on Spotify is equivalent of plus minus $5,000 US. And I mean, for the average artist, that can do a lot for you to further invest in your own career or do whatever you like you need to do with it. And then, once again, the last point is additional revenue streams. So as I said, revenue streams through the streaming. Also, now going back to the point which I made earlier, the better music tracking and accurate reporting. Now, there's different rights which are, there are different rights that are available to you, the creator, whether you're the composer or the actual artist. Now, when your music is played, you are given a right called what is called a performance royalty. So now, if your songs are being played in cafes, and now if cafes, for example, are opting to use a streaming platform to play your music, those counts can actually be counted properly. And you will be able, whether you're the artist or whether you're the composer, you will get your money through that. So that's what I mean by additional revenue streams. Am I with everyone? Yeah. Lovely. So I'm going to now focus on our continent now. When this responds. The pirates have, they found me. Okay, this isn't working right now, just to let you know. Okay. This delayed response is fine. DJ, do you want to play a song while we wait? I'm joking. So now I want to focus on streaming on our continent. So, okay, I'm sure it'll come just now. So within the continent, we have certain issues. There have been certain restrictions that have kind of hindered streaming so far on our continent. One of the biggest ones has been payment gateways. I mean, a lot of these platforms require credit cards, and if you exclude South Africa, Egypt, and Angola, the rest of the continent, there's less than 1% penetration of a credit card. I mean, here in Africa, we've made our own solutions with regards to how we pay for things. So, for example, the introduction of mobile money and these kind of things. A second thing is also definitely the high data costs. Data has been an issue across the board, and that's something that needs to be addressed. But there are potential solutions to these things. The slide will come. There we go. Some of the solutions to, number one, content is king. And if I have to say it again, local content is king. So what we've seen is there's definitely a significant difference of the streams or the downloads on local platforms of local content than the international content. So in order for these streaming platforms to make sense, we need more local content. And that's where that 5,000, which you can make on Spotify, can also now feed into that. Next, data. Solutions such as data bundles or different other methods of charging the consumer, such as music time. So for example, instead of charging, you're now being charged time, and you have to acquire time to stream. Those are the solutions that we have to look at on our continent. Outside of that, we need to find other more flexible payment options in order to purchase and to subscribe to these different platforms. So we need to explore paying with airtime more. We need to explore banking, direct banking perhaps. We also need to explore the use of mobile money more to pay for these services so that we as Africans can get onto these platforms. So that is streaming the new gold mine. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, smart and effective methods to market and distribute music content. So now, I think for this question, I wanted to rewind it back a bit more, because before we even get to marketing, I think there's a couple of steps that often artists, musicians, even independent labels make before even getting to this stage. But the biggest thing, or the biggest thing you always have to keep in mind is, where is your audience? In order to do this, you have to work backwards. So just the same way, you as an artist or a brand, you need to start looking at yourself as a business. And any business that's about to do business requires a plan, which is referred to as a business plan. So in this case, in my head, we'll call it the label plan, which is needed. So within this plan, just the same way a business plan has different things that are required, the first thing is, number one, who are you? So when you're looking at who are you as an artist, or let me say, who are you as a brand? What do you believe in? What do you stand for? Who are your influences? What's the genre you're in? Answer these kind of questions that will help you to start to define who is your market, who eventually you want to then market and distribute and to purchase your content. I mean, if we then once you've, and also say, once you define who you are also, as an art, as a brand, it helps you then, when now 10 years down the line where you're big and successful, if you're an artist that has always stood for not drinking, for example, and now an alcohol brand comes to you saying, we want you to represent our brand. Now that you know yourself, because it's in your plan, now that you've got an audience that knows you and understands what you stand for, it will help you, it will be an easy decision, even if they put $1 million in your face. Even though, hey, $1 million, I can take some of that, but yes. So now, going back now. So once you have the who are you, we need to look at your audience. More research needs to be done into who is your audience. And everything that I'm going to start talking about is going to talk to each element of this ecosystem here. So who is your audience? So physically, where is your audience? Physically, where does your audience go to party? Physically, how does your audience listen and consume music? Do they listen to radio? If they listen to radio, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir. If they're listening to radio, which stations are they listening to? If they're watching TV, which television stations are they listening to? Are they watching? Once you can figure that out, then when it comes to the PR element, which is the public relations, it's easier for you to fine-tune and to make sure that your music is being placed on the correct radio stations, because your team, as in the PR team, their job is to include radio sampling, making sure your songs are being put on TV, making sure you're getting the interviews that you require. So now when you understand where your audience is consuming all of these elements, it's easier for you to now target and make sure you're not wasting time trying to spread across everyone. Because the reality is, not everyone will have a taste for the music that you do. So you need to talk to your audience, but first you have to find them. If you move on to the booking side, again, when it comes to performances, when you find out where your audience go to, which events do you need to be at? Whether it's you just being in the stands, being seen, or whether it's you being on the actual stage. You need to define that, and then you'll understand that element as well. And we can go to, and digital strategy. Where's your audience? The reality is, in this day and age, most people are on their phones. So now, on their phones, how are they consuming music? A digital strategy needs to be put together. It's social media. You need to look at your social media, growing your followingship. On the blogs, which blogs talk to the music that you put on? Where can you have interviews on different blogs? Those are the kind of things that you need to see. As well as, and then lastly, the distribution element. Definitely physical. Physical is still relevant in this day and age, and as well as digital. But for the physical, is it worthwhile you actually trying to get your stuff in a store? Is your audience there? Or is it better for you to try sell at an actual event after you've just performed? So these are the things as an artist, and this is the homework that needs to be done if, as a musician, as an artist, a label, if you're doing this seriously, this is the research and the homework that needs to be done in order for you to market and promote and distribute your content correctly. Following that, on the digital platforms as well, making sure your content is on all the digital platforms, especially Music Time. Make sure about that. And yes, so all in all, that, I think, more importantly than the marketing and distributing, I think those are the elements that us as the industry need to start looking at more effectively and doing that research. Lastly, I'll be now touching on copyright. and what copyright is. Okay. So copyright, basically, copyright is what protects your music. There are two kinds of copyrights, and it's very important for you to take note of this, because I will also go through a couple of the other different, the different revenue streams which you should be aware of where you can also make revenue outside of just performances and the like. So there's two types of copyrights, which is the composition copyright, and the composition copyright is basically the creation of the song, the composition, the writers, the idea, the lyrics, how it's been arranged. That's the composition right. And then there's also a sound recording. Now the sound recording is basically the master, the final product, which is now what is going to be in the stores. Is that clear between the two differences? Yes? Nice one. There we go. So, when you have when your music is copyrighted, basically, which it ultimately is, but these are the rights that are granted to you. The first one is reproduce. So basically, no one has the right to make a copy of your music without your permission or without a license. The second one, prepare derivative works. So basically, this is saying that no one can just transform your music or adapt it, again, without your permission or without your license. So basically, to give an example of a derivative would be, no one can just take your song and make a remix. That's one example, for example. And another example, it can go as far as when they say transform. So the fact that when you have a song and you make it into a music video, the original work, which is a song, is still there, but it's now being transformed into a music video. So no one can now just make a music video with your song without your permission, without your license. Is that clear, guys? Yeah. Lovely. Next one, distribution. Once again, no one, as it is, without your license or permission, no one can just distribute your stuff, whether it's for free, whether it's for sale, regardless, they need to get permission from you, the owner of the copyright. And then lastly, performance. Performance isn't only just performance, you performing on stage. Performance is included as anywhere where your music is heard in public. So the fact that DJ is playing your song, that's included as a performance. And technically, no one, once again, can perform your stuff without a license or your permission. So that is the importance of knowing copyright. And then the last slide before I hand over on to Mr. Jonathan is going to talk about the different revenue streams of where the musician royalties and income streams. So as you can see, there's a number of different tabs there, and these are all the different ways of which globally artists are making money. That's why internationally, some composers can live off just writing songs, composing music, and live like that. So basically, I'm going to talk about the copyrights of the composition first. The composition, what I said earlier, was the writers, the guys who are composing the content, making the music. So now, often what happens is people feel the composers are forgotten because the composer isn't necessarily the guy who performs the song. Does that make sense to you? Just because you just because you perform the song, it doesn't mean you're the creator who wrote the song. So now, what often happens is the composers can get left out. Because at the end of the day, when the artist is performing on the stage, no one is thinking, oh, who wrote that song? They also must get paid. No, you're seeing the performer. So now, the copyright in composition, there's three different things there, where there's different percentages which are assigned to each one of those. One is a public performance royalty. As I said earlier, public performance is anywhere where your music is heard anyway. If I'm driving and my music is loud in the car, technically that's a public performance. But That's an extreme example, I'm just joking. But anywhere where your song is played in public, there's a royalty which is accrued and which is owed to the composer. Next is a mechanical royalty. So mechanical royalty is defined as a reproduction of your song. So when I say a reproduction of your song is, for example, if someone downloads your song on a platform, they have a new song. As in they have your song, but they have a copy of your song. When someone buys a CD, they're buying a copy of your song. And with that, there is what they call a mechanical royalty. And there's a percentage, again, which is accrued and is meant to be paid out to the composer for that as well. Then synchronization royalties. Synchronization is basically, the best way to say it, it's almost like an advert. If your music is played, the actual definition is when your music is played and there's moving pictures in the background, that's a synchronization deal. So more often than not, we're referring to the likes of advertisements. So when your song is used in an advert, there's a synchronization fee, there's a percentage which is owed to you, the composer. So now we're going to move on to the next kind of copyright, which is which is the sound recording. So now, with the recording, the first one there is recording artist royalty. So depending on the deal that you have with your label or whether you're an independent artist, this is basically the sale of your song, and that you as the artist now, you're the performing artist. So you put your song on iTunes, for example. iTunes, if you have a direct deal, but just an example, iTunes takes 30% first for just hosting your content. The remaining 70% is what is owed to you or your label, and then that will be distributed accordingly. So there's that, which is the recording artist royalty. The next one is the neighboring rights royalty. Neighboring rights, also known as needle time, this is the right that talks to everyone else who took part in the song. So we're talking, because it's not, so for example, I'll think of a song which has a heavy bass line. For example, Queen's song, We Will Rock You. It has that heavy bass line. Dun, 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 dun. That song, for example, that's the drummer who did that. So now, everyone will sing along the song in the chorus, everyone knows it, but now, when that is performed, the drummer should also earn a royalty. And that is what neighboring rights is. It's making sure everyone who took part in the song is also getting their due. And then lastly, is the producer's royalty. So now this depends on the deal structure of either the label or the artist. Of the label. Producer royalty is basically saying we need to differentiate a producer from a beat maker also. A producer is someone who I see as the musical director. So they're the ones who are responsible for putting the entire project together. So they're making sure that from track 1 to track 10 on the album, the flow is nice. They're making sure the beats also, whether they're actually physically doing the beats or not, they're the ones responsible for the actual beats of which the artist can perform on, etc., etc. The arrangement of the song to make sure the chorus fits here, etc., etc. So as a producer, more often than not, a label will get an established producer. So for example, someone like a Quincy Jones, who's an established producer, they will get Quincy Jones to come in and he's going to be the producer responsible for your album. Now that producer, within that deal, a percentage can be allocated to him for being part of your project. Am I with everyone? Yeah. Wonderful. I'm teaching you today, huh? Yeah. And then we're going to move on to the last one, which are the other ones. So now the other streams, these are the ones I think you're very familiar with. So the other ones include a performance fee. So for you being the artist to come perform, you earn a performance fee for that. Merchandising. If you're having an event and you choose to have merchandise, whether it's shirts or caps, that's another revenue stream which either you and the label can take, would enjoy. Sessions and appearances. As a session musician, you're not part of the band, but we need you to come play your guitar because you're the best person. We'll also hire you. There's a fee for that, and we'll pay you out once off. And again, there's also once-off producer's fee, or should I say, it depends. It can either be a percentage or it can be a once-off payment to the producer as well. That's a fee. And lastly, when you get sponsorship and endorsements. That concludes my presentation for today, but I would like to call on Jonathan to give a more in-depth look into the copyright in Ghana. Mr. Jonathan, would you like to join me on stage?
Thank you very much. I must say this is one of the key role of GAMRO and those of us in copyrights. And I must thank the organizers for making this possible. Every day we tend to explain what copyright is and all that. My focus for today, in respect of what has already been done, I wouldn't want to repeat, but I'll add some key issues. Our copyright law, section 5, gives a number of rights, in addition to what Munya has elaborated. So you will find maybe explaining it in detail, not just elaborating, but explaining it in detail. You will have the distribution right specifically indicated in our act. You will also have a broadcast right. When your work is broadcast on radio, you will find it also in our law. And then you will have communication to the public. That's also a right you will find in our law. But what I want to focus on is your actual creation and how can you benefit from this digital space, monetize your work. In any work, like he said, we have the authors section, which is the copyright. Then you have the recording part, which is the sound recording. And most often, especially in our territory, African territory, you find one person performing all the roles. So an individual will be the author, composer. He may even be a publisher himself. He will end up performing the work and have it recorded, and he will even produce the work. Now, when you go negotiating with the areas he has identified that you can monetize, because you did everything, the mistake a lot of people do is that they take one fee, and that is the end. So you ask yourself, for all these roles that I have more or less performed, why am I not getting? So you find out that the cake is not as big as it should. So you need to know the rights involved. So this program is very, very important. Knowing the rights, the fact that you are the one performing the work doesn't mean that those rights are no longer there. And we have typical situations in Ghana where you find an artist going to perform in National Theatre, for instance, and he's charged a fee. The fee is just for your performance. You understand? GAMRO goes in to charge for the composition, the publication, and all the rest. And yet the artist will say, oh, forget about GAMRO. You are losing those revenue streams. So GAMRO is like supporting and backing, because there are, in terms of your rights, there are some that you can manage or administer individually, and others you cannot. He talked about performance in, let's say, a hotel, for instance, a nightclub, or even they are doing streaming in their rooms and all that. You are incapable of identifying where such performances are taking place. So you need another form of entity or unit to do that and handle that professionally for you. So it is key that You hear people say Gumroad is not important. But it's because sometimes we don't sit back and appreciate what goes into the work before we go out there and put our work on YouTube for free. And I think Ohinijan talked about people not using YouTube properly. It's key. If you just load the work in there for free and you are not on any of the monetized platforms, then you get nothing for it. You see how it is? You need to get your team. I was reading a publication recently by the American Publishers Association, and they mentioned that the work of the industry has changed, but fundamentally it still remains the same. Okay? Previously, they have artists and repertoire managers who go seeking for good talent to record and all that, and then they put it out there, they will promote, they will market. Now you have your own team doing that for you. Instead of probably marketing an album, they are marketing one song. And it's that one song that will change your life. So you should handle it well and deal properly. Have a team that is knowledgeable, not just your fans who will be supporting you, but those who will identify your target group. So I go back to the song. If you create a song for copyright purposes, try and identify who, if you are the one who created the song or you compose, has your name captured as a composer. If you are the one who authored the lyrics and all those things, capture it properly. Then the other part, when you go to studio and have it recorded and you perform or you get somebody perform the song, make sure the particulars are there. And this is critical. It is very critical. We talk about, because when the work is performed, Munya is saying that there are new performers or new artists that came out. If that work is performed or streamed and there is no documentation, you have metadata, there's no documentation on it, or your work is on YouTube, you just find one name. Only one name on the song. Then who are you contacting? You understand? Maybe the song is good. The person needs to get a big deal is coming and there's no information on the work. So providing the necessary metadata on your work is critical. For the sound music, we talk about having the International Standard Recording Code is critical. For the music, International Music Works Code, all those things you must engage and get those things properly captured in your work. And in terms of the digital space, it is vast. Okay, we are talking about streaming, we are talking about download. The earlier speakers even talked about the color tunes and the rest. There are several ways of raking in revenue, and you need to be abreast with all these areas. So get your team, or normally I hear say my management team. They must be up and doing, not just they are there to give you funds. They are there to identify your target. No, it's very important. He talked about PR. You must know who you are, who is listening to your work, who is prepared to pay for your work. And these are the things you need to do. If you put your work just there, it will be there and nobody will listen to it or nobody will buy it. And people are ready to pay for it if it is properly packaged and presented. You understand? He's talking about Netflix increasing their subscription because a lot more people are craving for it. And where there is demand, people will buy. So we must package it. Okay, so your work, the main thing about copyright is that let your work be identified with you, the individual. If nobody knows who is behind the work may be monetized. Somebody else may be benefiting. You understand? And that's the piracy. And I'm happy he's saying that because of the streaming now, piracy has gone down. So there's a need for us to make sure we improve the way we present our work to the public. Thank you very much.
Wow. Nice. Excuse me. Right. Shall we move on? Okay, now let me invite Mr. Seaford Lamani, who happens to be the Managing Director of Universal Group. Mr. Seaford Lamani.
Ish, I see there's a favoritism here. My other brother over there got music, got a long announcement, where he was born, where he was from. There was a DJ in the background scratching. But it's all good, it's all good. Can I get the clicker for the presentation, please? So good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Good. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Okay, afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Afternoon. Okay, that's a lot better. My name is Seaford Lamani, and I have the pleasure and the joy of being the Managing Director for Universal Music Group Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, just to put it out there, Universal Music Group is the world's largest entertainment company. And today, I hope to show you a little bit of why we say that and how we come to be that. But first of all, I'd like to start by just giving a bit of context to what's happening here today, okay? Can I ask everybody that is a recording artist to please stand up? Wow. So if you've recorded music, if you've released a song, an album, please stand up. Okay. Great. Can I ask anybody that is a musician to please stand up? So please don't sit down if you're a recording artist. If you play a drum, a guitar, a saxophone, or any instrument, even though you haven't released your own album, if you have played on somebody else's recording, please also stand up. Okay. Then can I ask anybody who is a producer? So you might not play an instrument, but you program beats and you program loops. Can you also please join the group and stand up? Cool. Then can I ask any artist managers or booking agents to please also stand up? Even those that are in denial. Thank you. Okay, so can I please politely say this to everybody that's standing in the room, and I beg, please don't take offense. But a famous rapper once said this line. He said, "I'm not a businessman." Okay, can you please repeat that? He said, "I'm not a businessman." I'm a businessman. Okay, so all of you effectively run a business. You are not a businessman or a businesswoman, but you run a business. And the biggest mistake we make in the music industry is we sometimes treat it like a hobby, like a pastime. Today, I beg, please take notes from every speaker that has been on this podium, because everybody has shared words of wisdom, knowledge, and experience. People had to lose money to learn what they learned, to be able to come and share that information with you today for free. So please take notes before you forget and before you go home. Please learn, please study, because the biggest failure in the music industry is that people don't study their craft and don't understand what they're meant to give up, what they're not meant to give up, and who they're working with and why they are working with them. Agreed? Yes. Okay, thank you. Now you can sit down. Okay, so we're going to get started. Who is Universal and what are we doing in Africa? The presentation I think, runs a bit slow. So I'm going to try and move it a bit faster so that it doesn't lag too much. So Universal Music Africa, we have two head offices, one out of South Africa and the other out of Ivory Coast. I'm in charge of Sub-Saharan Africa, and what will soon come up is the map of Africa, which will show you the different regions that we cover. Okay, I'll carry on and it will catch up as we go. But essentially, we have the head office in South Africa, which looks after the Southern African region. We have the office in Nigeria, which looks after West Africa. Then we have the office in Kenya, which looks after East Africa. You all know the stats in the previous sheet, so I'm not going to go back to that. But it's important for me to just highlight something, that within the value chain of Universal Music, which is also benefiting from the large ownership of Vivendi, we have all these different companies that are operating in Africa. I'm going to try and use the pointer. Maybe not. Okay. But anyway, Studio Canal, Paddington, film and TV production companies. Vivendi Sports is a sporting company that looks at talent and events relating to sports in Africa. Universal Music Africa, ULive, which is our live events production company, and UMG Live, which is our bookings division. Under the brands, companies like Canal Advertising, Havas Group, which is an advertising agency, and Gameloft, our gaming company, also operating out of Africa. Under infrastructures, Universal has recently built 13 venues across West Africa for live events, concerts, and also conferences. There's also Vivendi Village Africa, which also looks at sporting venues. And moving across quickly, because I know that there's a time restriction, the Vivendi company also owns Olympia Productions, which specializes in technical and PA equipment for live events. And then again, Dailymotion and the other companies are all online and advertising companies. So what you should never say is that you don't have access to companies that support the entertainment industry. That goes back to doing research, to doing your work, to finding out what resources are available for you to use as you carry out your business, right? So let's touch base on Universal Music's performance in Africa. I'm going to quickly run through some market share information for you, just to give you and to share some of our performance stats. Just starting with a revenue perspective, so against our competitors, we are ahead in Sub-Saharan Africa. If you look at 2016, we were behind Sony by 40%, at 40%, sorry, and they're at 49%. In 2017, we jumped ahead. We're at 46% revenue market share against Sony at 40%, against Warner at 10%, and others at 4%. And year to date, as of August 2018, we were at 44% market share, again, ahead of our competition. In terms of radio play, and I'm going to simplify the next graph just to try and help you see easily, we basically categorize Universal, Sony, and Warner in terms of radio market share across Sub-Saharan Africa. Can you put, okay, cool, thank you. So starting from the bottom and going to the top in Kenya, our market share on radio, we are at 34.3% in 2016. We were at 33, so it's very small here, 33% in 2017, and in 2018, 34% market share versus Sony at 22, Warner at 17. In Nigeria, our market share, just jumping straight to 2018, we're at 21% versus Sony at 14 and versus Warner at 10%. All this information, by the way, is available online, so it's nothing secret that I'm giving you. In South Africa, our radio market share is at 36% versus Sony at 25 and Warner at 8%, right? So that is a quick snapshot of how we're performing in Africa as Universal Music Group. But how is that relevant and why is that important to you? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look and share with you some of our activities as Universal Music Group and how we operate as a business in Africa. Okay. So what we do at the core is we specialize in the production of content through our label business, through which we also do A&Ring, so which is artist and repertoire discovery. What that means is we identify talent and we help develop it through the process of producing music and marketing the music in each region. Yeah, okay. If I raise my hand, if you can move it forward, because it's moving a bit slow in terms of engaging with the presentation. Thanks. So essentially what we do is we do a number of things that support the artist's work in each market. So as a record label business, we also run recording studios so that we give artists the space to come in, record their music before we put it out onto the different platforms as they've discussed before. We also have ULive Africa. Now, ULive Africa is a division within the business that focuses on event and concept production and conceptualization. You don't have to be signed to Universal Music in order to benefit from the services of ULive Africa. You just have to be a performing artist or a group that has an audience that we would want to work with. And an example of that is we did a concert with Dr. Dumi. Does anybody know Dr. Dumi? Gospel artist. So, yes, we signed him as a recording artist, but we also did a concert with him in 2017 where we had 18,000 people at the Coca-Cola Dome. And then in 2018, we did a concert with him where we had 35,000 people at Voortrekker Monument. So that was in South Africa. In Nigeria last year, anybody know Major Lazer? Particular? Yep. So we did the official Major Lazer concert in Nigeria last year. Was it November? Last year, November, as well as Runway Jazz Festival also taking place in Nigeria. So ULive is a division where we do live events. And it's important that you make note of the different areas of business as a musician, because as Munir was talking earlier, it's important that you understand the different revenue streams that you should operate in and participate in, right? So recording your music and releasing your music is one thing. Being able to perform your music is another place where you make money. Being booked for gigs by other people, so the booking agency business, is another place where you make your money. So if you're not looking at those different areas of business, then you're letting money slip and fall off the table, okay? Just as my colleague from Gamro also mentioned, some of the things that generate money from you, you can't always control from your space. So it's important that you research and you understand what societies like Gamro can do for you, because what they can do is they can represent you in your absence. So in dealing with broadcasters who may broadcast your music, and also if your music is getting played overseas, Gamro would interact with agencies like PRS in the UK or ASCAP in the US to make sure that if your music is played on TV or radio in those countries, they would pay money over to Gamro, and Gamro would distribute money over to you. So again, remember, it's a business. You are a business. And there are different places where you will make money from the content that you create, as long as you study and as long as you research and you understand where that money should come from. Moving on, and these other two areas will be talked about by my colleague Pino, which is Universal Music Group brands and also the digital business of the Universal, right? So the brands division is talking about you being a brand and how after you've been successful making good music, how you leverage the value created in your brand to make money elsewhere. So again, Pino will touch on that. So let's keep moving forward. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look, or give you a quick look at what I would refer to as the music industry value chain. So just moving this forward. Okay, so these are the key players in the music industry, because music industry starts with creating content, right? As Munir said, you have composers who write songs, you have artists who sing songs. Now I'll give you an example in the difference between those two. Who knows the song, I Will Always Love You? We should all know it, right? Who made that song famous for you? Name the artist. Sorry? Whitney Houston. But let me ask you another question. Who wrote that song? Dolly Parton. There you go. So there's a clear example of the composer versus the artist. So Dolly Parton wrote the song, but it was famous. It was made famous when Whitney Houston performed the song, and I think it was in Bodyguard. Was it for that movie? In the movie Bodyguard. It was made famous when Whitney Houston, who's the artist, performed that song and made it famous. So there's two different people that made money off that one song. At least two people, sorry. Or two categories of people. There's a person that wrote the song, then the person that performs the song and made it famous. Now, touching on neighboring rights and needle time, as Munya did, there are also the people that played the instruments in the recording of that song. So the bass player, the keyboard player, the piano player, and others, right? So those fall under the last category, which is musicians. Then you also have producers. But this group of people are at the core of the music industry, because if they don't create music, then everything else that relies on that creation falls apart. And that's why, if you're smart, you'll never be out of work. Because people will always want new music. It doesn't matter how much good old music there is, people always want to hear new music as well. So if you can participate in any of these areas, you will continue to make money. Now, just to complete the music chain, music industry value chain, the record label steps in, records the music or the song that's been created, and the publishers and the record label work together to make it available, but also to make sure that the commercialization, so the act of getting money back for you, is managed, right? Then you have the music consumption platforms. So that could be radio, that could be TV, it could be streaming platforms. And more in this world, it's via what? The mobile phone. You then have concert and event producers and promoters. So those are people who take the music that's been created and make it available for people to enjoy via live performances and concerts. And then lastly, you have collective management organizations such as GAMRO, who participate again in making sure that the money flows back to who? To the group of people in the middle. So does everybody get that music industry value chain? Okay? And does everybody understand the importance of knowing how to interact with these different blocks? If you're an artist and you don't know what the record label is supposed to do for you, then you might sign the wrong deal with the record label. If you don't understand what a publisher is supposed to do for you, then again, you might give away rights that you don't need to give away. If you don't understand how your music is being consumed, then you won't know where to market yourself and how to reach your audience. And if you don't know who the concert promoters are and who the people that are putting on events are, then you won't know how to do what? How to get performances that help you generate money. If you don't know the collective organizations, then you've probably got money sitting in a society somewhere that is waiting for you to come and collect it. Again, it's the music what? Business. Not a hobby, it's a music business. Moving along. This is a quick run through of how the activities work, but I'll go quickly through this one because we've already touched on it. So the composers write the songs, the record labels record and use producers to record them. We release those songs through distribution platforms such as streaming, mobile, and radio and TV. Retailers sell physical product where there is physical product, and content aggregators also distribute for you at a wider platform or a wider audience, and the public enjoys your music. That is essentially how the music business works. Everybody okay with that? Yeah. All right, cool. Now, in order for us to understand where we are now and how we got here and where we need to go, we need to kind of go back and take a look at where we came from and how people have been consuming music. So how was music consumed before? Well, first of all, the phonograph was invented in 1877, then the LP in 1931, and then what? the tape recorder in 1935. So understand that at these times, this is how people created or controlled how their music traveled, right? You write a song, you record a song, you either put it on an LP or it gets on a tape recorder. Isn't it interesting that there was so much limitation in how your music used to move? If you think that's bad, take a look at the next slide. The transistor radio was only invented in 1954. What this meant, just to contextualize it again, is that if people wanted to hear your music, they had to sit by a radio and wait for the DJ to choose when to play your song amongst the millions of songs that they had available to listen to. So there's some young people that won't even be able to grasp that and the restriction that that came with. Yes, then in 1965, you had the 8-track tape. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of you that are way too young to even know what an 8-track is. But my grandfather used to have an 8-track player in his car, right? 8-track. Then we moved on to the cassette. Now, if anybody was part of the cassette era, you understood that in order to make a mixtape, it's not like what people call now, but what you would do is you would have 2 tape players, right? You'd put them next to each other. One would play one song, and you would record it on a cassette on the other machine. That's how we used to compile. So I was a DJ using cassettes. I used to stay up and listen on radio and record songs off radio and then edit them by recording them onto another cassette. This is how music has traveled and how it's been controlled over time. Let's keep moving before we run out of time. Going forward to now. Then you had the Walkman in 1979. And I just want to remind people that remember this day and age, the first Walkmans only had a stop, play, and fast forward button. So if you wanted to go back and listen to a song again, you would take out the cassette, use a pencil, and then turn it back. Put it back and listen if you'd gone back far enough, and then go back again. Okay? That's how people used to consume music. And remember, you either had a hi-fi at home that played your cassette, or you had a ghetto blaster that you could travel around with, or you had a Walkman. So people that couldn't afford the Walkmans used to listen to other people's ghetto blasters or hi-fis to consume music. Then you had the compact disc, 1982. Now, some of us were born before 1982, so we understand what some of this means. But again, if you think about where you are today and where musicians were in 1982, if somebody recorded a CD in Ghana, for me to listen to it in South Africa, they would have to find a way of physically getting the CDs to South Africa. Let's just understand what that means, because I don't think we appreciate how technology has made it possible for you to succeed today, right? So you record a song in one country. In order for it to be listened to in another country, you've got to send a physical copy to every radio station in that country that you want to play your CD and hope that they play it. Then in order for somebody to be able to go out and buy the music, you've got to have somebody in that country that's willing to buy the CDs and put them into retail and market it for you. So when we talk about challenges in this day and age, we're not really dealing with challenges. It's more about us being lazy and not being willing to put in the work to take advantage of what we have around us, right? Then disruption kicks in, 1989. The World Wide Web kicks in and is available for public. And disruption kicks in. The MP3 is born, 1995. And with it, different devices that people use to listen to music. So now you've moved away from a space where the only way that people could hear your music was on a transistor radio, right? And now people can choose what song to listen to whenever they want to listen to it, wherever they are. That's amazing to me. Then we move beyond that and we move to where we are today. And this is very relevant for our market here on this continent, Africa. Because now, cellular and mobile is king, right? Because everybody, no matter what your device preference is, whether it's Android, iOS, or whether it's Samsung or Apple or whatever it is, everybody is consuming music through these devices. How many people a day do you see carrying an iPod? And this is not a bash to Apple, but how many people do you see carrying an actual iPod nowadays? Very, very few. Because everybody is using this to listen to music. Which means what? Which means that you now have the power and the control, can you move the slide along? To define how people can use your music. So whatever platform it is or whatever service you prefer to use, you have the ability to control and to give people access to your music. You actually don't have to work with a record label. I know it sounds stupid because I am a record label, but you don't have to work with a record label. You don't have to rely on a radio station to break your music. You don't have to. Because if you use any of these platforms, people can hear your music. So now it's about how much work you're willing to put into your business. It's about how much you're willing to invest in order to grow yourself. And remember, when we talk about investing here, it's not always about needing a big chunk of money. It's about using the platform and the services that are available for you to use. MTN doesn't charge you money to put your music onto their platform. Neither does Apple, neither does Spotify, neither do any of these platforms. Which means that you have a free way of making your music get onto a platform, and once it's on those platforms, what happens? You make money. How many subscribers does MTN have? Anybody from MTN? In the region? 270 million people subscribe to the MTN network. 270 million people. So when you put your music onto that platform, it's now up to you what additional marketing and work you do, but you can't complain that it's tough. If you compare yourself to the guy that was recording in the 1950s that had to rely on people to sit next to a transistor radio to hear his song, that had to rely on a compiler in a radio station that has thousands of CDs to play, that receives a CD from a boy in Zimbabwe versus, I don't know, Whitney Houston, Quincy Jones, and whoever in America, the game has now totally changed. People can discover your music right now in New York, in Russia, in Asia, when you upload a song on a platform. You don't need to send a physical CD anymore or a cassette. So it's all about you putting in the work to build your business and to build your brand. It might seem tough, but just compare yourself to if you were doing the same thing in the 1950s. You have a lot more opportunity and a lot more advantages that are working for you instead of working against you. I'm now going to hand over to Pino, who's going to talk about the brands and digital business. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a long morning, but I'm hoping that you're taking it all in. And so like Sipho said, I'm here to talk about the money business, I guess, the money part of the ecosystem, the music ecosystem. So I'm just waiting for the presentation to be uploaded. Please. Sorry? Tell you a joke. No, not, that's why I'm on this side, that side of the microphone. Just some valuable research we did on the cassette. We stopped manufacturing as Universal Music, or as an industry, and I'm talking South Africa. We stopped manufacturing the cassette about 4 years ago only, which seems pretty recent, comparing it to when it actually got started. And the reason why we only stopped like 4 years ago was because of the consumption of the cassette. It was still there. People wanted it. We found it very hard to believe why somebody wanted the cassette. You know, the quality was poor. The quality was poor. The mechanism of rewinding was old. And we just never understood the reason why. So we did some research. So the main factor for the dying of the cassette in South Africa was we just couldn't get the tape anymore, the actual tape that you manufactured on. It was very expensive to produce, so we ended it, but there was still a demand. And the research we did was that we found out was that certain markets or certain regions within South Africa sold a lot more cassettes than others. And we just didn't understand it. We thought we're coming from a digital age that, you know, the CD, the quality's better, we had MP3s, it's portable. Why the hell are people still buying cassettes? There was no reason for it. So we researched, and we found there was an area of South Africa, a region called Limpopo, where there's vast driving distances between towns. The roads aren't great. And we spoke to a couple of the guys and said, well, why are you buying a cassette when you're also buying the CD? Because that's what we also found, is that the same artist was selling to the same person a cassette and a CD. And it came down to a simple thing. The cassette in a car, when you're going over bad roads, doesn't skip and doesn't bounce like a CD. So the guys in taxis, or the guys doing the driving or around, they were on bad roads and they wanted to listen to their music properly, so they had the cassette, which was really for us, I won't use my French language here now, but yeah, it was like a turning point for us. And I'm still waiting for cassette. We're good? There we go. Great. So I'm going to go back to Munir's question about piracy. As much as, and as much as he says that piracy it's taken a hard knock with streaming, unfortunately, with every new digital service, there's always a hack. So as you know, YouTube, there's probably about 500 or 600 different applications and pieces of software that allow you to record playlists or record the video of YouTube and then play it back endlessly as an MP4. So as much as, yes, streaming has helped us, everything, we must just remember those guys there on the other side are always trying to come up with different ways of not doing it, you know, or not paying for it. But, right, so Universal Music in Africa, and I'm going to just talk about numbers a bit, just to let you understand. I think it was very important when we spoke to Tanith and the group, MTN, they said, try give the artists, the people that you'll be speaking to, some sort of an idea of, well, what does it generate in revenue-wise, and what does streaming, you know, account for, or digital? And as much as I'd like to tell you the actual numbers, I'm going to give you some percentage stuff. So Universal Music promotes and markets music content from audio downloads and streams right through and going backwards to ringback tones and video downloads. We stream in 23 countries of Africa currently, and I was just speaking to a colleague here from MTN, and everybody know IVR? You'd probably think that IVR is dead, and it's like a really shitty way of listening to music. But to be honest with you, we still have like 9 or 10 platforms running across the African market, which generate in the region of about between $15,000 and $20,000 a month. So when we look at digital, we're not only just looking at streaming, which is like the new buzzword and the new gold mine. We're still looking at digital downloads. We're still looking at RBTs, which are very powerful still in the continent. and IVR services. So with 30 digital partners across the African continent, Universal boasts an approximate 33% market share in 2018. This is the number you've got all, as much as streaming, everybody thinks it's new, it's up and coming. We currently have over 500,000 people on the African continent paying a monthly fee of equivalent of 59 Rand or $2, I think that is, or $3.99 every single month, which for us is amazing because we've come on the back end of the streaming success overseas, and we never thought that we'd be generating this type of income from people wanting to pay for music legally and with a credit card. South Africa holds the lion's share of the streaming market. Digital streams in Africa, South Africa contributes to 91% of all streams, which is massive, which means that there's a lot of work to be done outside of South Africa, but there's also a massive opportunity. Digital downloads in Africa, South Africa contributes to 92% of all digital downloads that are happening. Then if we go to the next, we've jumped. Can we go back 2 slides, please? Yeah, there we go. Stop there. So countries with a majority contribution to digital streams and downloads: South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and in 4th place, Ghana, bringing you home. Next slide. Top genres in the digital world, and especially in the streaming world: hip-hop outperforms everything. Then pop, then rock. Some of the top music artists in streaming: Drake, Post Malone, Eminem, Maroon 5, and Imagine Dragons. There's no surprises there. Hip-hop contributes to 31% of all digital streams and downloads. Drake last year accumulated 277 million streams in Africa alone, and that was for 2018. So the volumes are there. The 3 genres, hip-hop, pop, and rock, generates up to 74% of all digital consumption currently. Next slide. You know how much you're earning, roughly. Work it out. It's a shitload of money. So, she has a daily average, and Lady Zamar currently has a daily average of 11,400 people listening to her music every single day. And that's the power of streaming. So the top 5 countries where Lady Zamar is most streamed is South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, the United Kingdom, and Namibia. This is a debut artist. Top 5 African countries where she's most streamed is South Africa, obviously, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Kenya. So that's just some numbers around it. I think the most important number you're going to ask us probably later: how much do I earn per stream as an artist? I wish I could tell you. But there's a fair bet that you should look at 3 US cents as what the platform pays over the content owner. But then the content owner, being in this case a record label or whatever, it then gets split up even further down. So you're potentially looking per stream, if I were to give you a guess, 1 US cents times about of the music ecosystem, and over $1 billion worth of business for Universal Music. It's basically what it is. It's Universal Music and brands, and how do we put them together, and how do we make the brands work with our musicians as content owners. Next slide, please. So what does music mean to consumers? So we did some research, and the question that was asked was, what one form of entertainment would you keep if you were stranded on a deserted island? And this was put out to a whole lot of people. What form of entertainment? So it could be whatever, video, audio, whatever. And above all else, music came out as number 1. It is the one piece of content and the one passion point in everybody's life that we work with or use every single day. And it can be used directly because I want to listen to a piece of music, or I listen to it indirectly by walking through a shop and something's playing in the background. It's the one piece of entertainment that connects us all and is with us in most days. Next slide. Music, and this is where Universal Music and Brands comes in, and half of my presentation's gone and only the lovely woman's on the screen. Music helps drive the affinity with brands. So the big idea is, why should a brand go and start up or use an unknown person to push their product? Why not join up with a well-known artist and get that artist to push the brand for him? Next slide. Oh, there it comes in now. So consumers consume more music than ever before. So in 2015 was the year where digital music overcame physical. It is the turning point of our musical industry history. 50% of streaming subscribers listen to curated playlists every time they use a streaming service. And that's what's very, very important to know within the streaming world, is that as we used to go into old physical stores, we were attracted straight away to the chart wall. When people are going onto platforms nowadays, be it Spotify or Apple Music, it's the curated playlist section that drives more than 50% currently. People go in and they want to hear, oh, what is X DJ listening to, and what is his favorite playlist, so that we can consume it. The discovery of music on streaming platforms is also far beyond what we used to be. And then 1 billion is the number of music videos streamed on YouTube every single day. And that has now grown to just over 1.7 billion. Beyond content, music is not just a piece of content, it's an experience. 98% of consumers will talk positively about a brand after participating in a branded experience or event. 70% of users become regular customers after experiential marketing activities. And 29% of companies reported returns of 10 to 1 or better on the experiential investment. So you'll see that a lot of activations that are happening on the ground are happening with ambassadors. The ambassadorship program within the African continent has been very successful, where artists align themselves with brands and then they push the brand for them. The new buzzword is the influencer campaign. There's a lot of influencers happening at the moment, and there's a lot of, stuff happening like that. And I'm just pushed for time, so I'm just going to run through. Turning over, just some of the other stats from an agency perspective. 7 of the top reaching artists on Facebook to Universal Music. We can speak to, just the 7 of the top 10, we can speak to 400 people, 400 million people every single day. 7 of the top 10 in South Africa, world, and it's everybody from established superstars right through to breakthrough talents. If we go to the next slide, it gives you South Africa, and then the next slide in Africa, the growing list in Africa. And basically, turning customers into fans and fans into customers is what we're doing. So I think that'll put an end to it, and the red light has gone off, and now we can carry on. Thank you.
Okay, it's Sipo here. I can't find Sipo. Oh, okay, right. So let me invite Fifi, our very own Fifi Edinkra. Where's Fifi? Hey. And I've got my brother Jonathan Nilai, aka John Nila. Yes. These are online marketers and distributors, bloggers, and artist managers. Right. Can I have a microphone? Okay. Oh, you do. Yeah. Thank you. So, of all we discussed so far, I will ask again, because Munya Right. Please, is Pino here? Pino, please. Please. Thank you. Right. Munya touched on the gold mine in digital streams. Again, I would want us to look at it. So yes, is it the gold mine? Is it the new gold mine? I think you touched on it. Pino, because you just finished, I would appreciate it if you take it off from here.
Is it the new gold mine?
Yes.
It's part of the bigger gold mining industry. I think it's the one area of the business that people are excited about. It's the one area of the business that has started to show very successful returns. And remembering that a lot of artists were against streaming. We still have a lot of the top-rated artists in the world that have not put their music up on streaming. I take the biggest female artist in the world currently is Taylor Swift. Just on a numbers point of view, she's not on Spotify. Jay-Z, he's not on Spotify for various reasons. So it's hard to say, is it the new gold mine? It's part of the bigger mining thing you want to call it. But it is the one part that is working. Because we've tried, man. We've tried a lot of different formats. We've tried a lot of different ways of putting music out there. We came up with very successful DRM products, which didn't allow people to copy MP3s, and it was all squashed down. So it is the one area that people, given the choice and given the way that they are able to consume music in their own liking, have got to. So I wouldn't say it is, but it's part of it.
Right. Fifi and Jonila, well, you have not spoken yet. What have you got to share?
Hello.
Let me start with you, Jonila.
Okay. I was actually telling Fifi that I have few things to say, even though I'm here for the Q&A session. After listening to the presentation, it looks like in Ghana we are not doing anything. And the tension is so high. Am I right? But I actually want to go through something that I have here. This is one thing that I have noticed. We have an encouraging population that is streaming songs via these platforms that we have, even on desktop. Hope I'm right. Now, Ghana, our music has a specific identity that we truly need to project. Let me quick, because I wrote these things not too long ago, I cannot just take them off head. So let me just go through. So we have an encouraging population that loves streaming via mobile phone and desktop. All we need to do is to get audience a good catalog of good music to explore. Secondly, our music has an identity. The demand for our music globally is on the rise. That's why our musicians keep clocking the million views and all that, YouTube and all these ones. Hope that is also right, because we saw the figures during the Spotify wrap-up last year. Even Stonebwoy made 6 million streams on Spotify, which is an encouraging number as compared to what others are doing in the sub-region. Another one is, we have a good internet access, if I'm not lying, as compared to other countries as well. Yes, I know. So I know. You will understand after going through my point. However, there is, please, I'm coming to a certain point. However, telcos can still do better about the cost to encourage streaming. So this is an indirect message to organizers of this event. Now, there is a certain pressure on the foreign labels for our artists to do a certain kind of music that suits their interests. Let's look at it from this angle. Even though it wasn't a Ghanaian artist, one of the biggest artists on the continent signed a deal with one of the international record labels, and it wasn't going well. But when he decided, I won't say downgrade, but came back to do the music that the people know for him, as we speak right now, he's over 750 million views on YouTube, if I'm not lying. So what it also means is that the international record labels and all these ones, even though they want to come and do business with us, they should know that we also have a certain music, we also have a certain sound that we truly want to project. And they should work with us. What it also means is that we have the encouraging numbers. So what we need to do now is to have our own platform. I was telling a friend down there that the staircase over here is made for legs to step on. It wasn't made for a wheelchair. What I'm trying to say is that regardless of what these foreign platforms are making, people are making in Europe and all these parts, so far as they don't have us in mind, there's no way we're going to compare ourselves to Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, and all these ones. We need a local platform that our people in Manguase can purchase through mobile money. If we can't compare any artist in America to Papi Kojo, why? Because of the payment method they have and what we have now. If there's a way that somebody who is at Takoradi can purchase a song by Edem or Papi Kojo, will equally make a lot of money. So what it means is that the telcos, especially MTN, they have the highest numbers. They need to give us that platform. Now, we also have this problem where we don't have aggregators. What it means is that legitimately, Gamro, Musica, and all the people who truly matters when it comes to music should come together. Let's see the best way to get an aggregator to put all this catalog together for us so that it wouldn't look like, okay, in Africa, the business is not viable, or we are not doing anything. We can also do something if we do our own thing here to attract other people. Thank you very much.
I want to touch on the local aspect, like how artists can make money with their music. In Ghana, most artists don't understand the creative process, from the studio to when the music gets to the fans. After creation, you record at the studio, everything. The content, that's the music, should be monetized, should be registered with copyrights, aggregators, publishers, and all that, even before you think of promotion. But most artists, from experience, they skip that step. They're always in a rush. Right after the studio, they have the master copy, they throw it out there, oh, Mr. DJ, play my song, give me. Then, the most important aspect is being overlooked. But let's picture this scenario whereby you record a song. When the song is done, you have the wave format. You take it to an aggregator who then publish your music to various stores. You contact a content manager who then handles your YouTube for you. At the end of the day, every stream or every download, every airplay, you then benefit from it. But if you are playing a game or you are in the music business whereby you are looking at, oh, make my song blow, make a play show, then make money, it's very wrong. With that scenario, what happens if the song no blow? But if you run the whole thing carefully, even if the song doesn't blow, you then make a little...
Communication will be fluid. Thank you. So if you have any question... Oh, all right. Thank you. Well, let me help.
Okay. Fifi, me... I have a question, but it's kind of, because at the moment you spoke, I have my heart start beating because I see that I've lost a lot of money. And when he also spoke just now, my heart start beating because I realize they are doing us. So my first question is directed to the two of you. When you spoke about Gold Mine. You gave us the budget, the numbers,
relating to what you are getting as an artist. What are you investing? I didn't get the number of wealth Universal is investing, where Connect Africa is investing, how you're making that number. Because if my artist is here right now, and I'm a manager, and he's in Universal, you are doing like this, and I'm doing like that, I'm losing. And it's not easy. If you have handled an artist from a coin pocket, you understand it's not easy. Because sometimes a young man can just sit down, calculate the number of money he has shared overboard. You know he can buy small land, build a single room, and rent it out. But this money are not coming back the way you're putting it. So I'll be very grateful to know what you're investing in and how those numbers are helping you to get those numbers, and they are changing. And again, I would like to plead with you. How can we get those artists that we have off to you so that Universal can be getting some of the underground Ghanaian artists, the big ones, and Connect Africa can take them? So when we do small, we give you, we also get percentage. Then we go and take some at Bojuasi and bring more.
All right, thank you.
Then, second, please, to the bloggers, it's just two. To the bloggers and the media people, you know very well that some of us, we don't know what we do. Some of us to know what we do. But we all need to survive. Please don't take me off board, I beg you. But you want to do something, and before you finish from the studio, your artist is in a hurry. The moment you record and you ask an artist to wait like 6 months before one music will be released, it will be a problem. Because before you finish with Musica, Gumroad, other rights, other platform, it will take a long time. The music is released before you see somewhere urbanroad.com, .net, before you see, bloggers are retweeting it, they are sending it out. It's gone. DJs will play. Those who are not playing, you are forced to give some payo. The bloggers, those who even tweet it more, you need to pay something. Please, how can you help us so that we also get some coins? Because when you retweet, you spread it online, it's gone. Thank you.
Please, I will appreciate it if you make your questions brief. Please, because of time. Thank you.
All right. So to your first question, and it's a great question, because I think we do shout about, well, this is what we generate, this is the amount of money we make, but how much do we put back into the market, and how much do we invest into an artist? I wish I could have the magic formula to say that for every $10 I spent, I made 100. I don't. But I can safely say, and I think this is where us as major labels have come off our high horses and have come down from our ivory towers and realized two things. One is that everything we say and profess is not God's word. And the second thing is that local is vital. And domestic content is vital, especially, and it's in every market. If you go to Europe, local European music, be it in Italy or Portugal, is vital to that economy. It's something that we haven't, as major labels, and I apologize for that, over the many years. It's something that in Africa, and I talk specifically in South Africa, we haven't done, where we've just said, well, we've got Drake from the US, you're going to consume and you're going to love Drake, irrespective that we had Brenda Fassie or we had any of those other artists. So local, going back also to your statement earlier, local for us is vital. And we've shown the investment in that. We've now opened offices in Lagos, we're opening offices in Kenya, and we're investing on the ground in content acquisition. By that we mean by signing artists and investing financially in building that brand. So building that brand means you're discovering new artists, you're helping them through the A&R process, you're recording and paying for the recording, you're spending money on marketing, on distribution, on flights, etc., etc. So, to give you an example of monetary terms, for us we've tried to work out what does it cost to successfully launch a new brand, a brand being an artist. We're working in the areas of between $250,000 and $300,000 is what we put in to sending off an artist. What does that mean to us, and how do we understand? And we say, well, how do we know when we have successfully broken an artist? How do we know that the $300,000 or $400,000 that we've spent on Artist Day has made us some money. And if we take streaming, for example, we look at the 500 million or the half a billion mark before we start making any money, or before we can say that artists has successfully become something. So, roughly putting it, are we investing in local artists? We are. We most definitely. Not 1 cent of any money that we have made as Universal Music goes back to Europe or the US. Not 1 cent. It stays within Africa and stays within the countries that we sell the music in. So, as far as an investment is concerned, we spend a shitload of money. It's unfortunate, though, that we haven't been doing it in the last 20 years. It's taken us to fall off these ivory towers in the last 5 years to understand that, hey, if we want to be successful in Africa, we need to, A, be in the country, and 2, invest in the local domestic product. We can't tell you what to listen to and how to listen to it from South Africa or from London or US. So the investment is there. And how easy is it for you to bring your artists to us? It's very easy. Just come speak to us afterwards. I think, it's part of our core business as record label people to listen to everything and everyone and give everybody the equal opportunity to try and make it out there. And it's easier today than it ever was before. We are not only signing albums, we're signing singles. So yes, very easy. Come talk to us.
Right. I think he asked one other question I'm very much interested in. Yeah. He was asking which Ghanaian would you get on UMG, right?
What Ghanaian artists we currently have? Or how do we get Ghanaian music onto Universal?
Yeah.
Come speak to us.
Yeah. Your second question, in relation to the bloggers, I want you to understand that bloggers work according to your request. So if you give a blogger an iTunes link, Uptown link, Spotify link, YouTube link, whatever link that you submit to the blogger, that's what they are going to use. The problem we have in Ghana is most artists submit the MP3 file itself, which is not the right way or the right thing to do. You can submit even SoundCloud link, and when people stream these songs on our website, it comes to you because we have embedded it. I hope you understand my point from there. And also, we need that yes we can spirit. With DistroKid, you can get your song on the stores within 24 hours. So that's perception, or should I say, the mindset of, it will take time for me to go through that long process. Nah, you can walk to Gumroad at any time, and I'm sure they will fast everything for you. They will do everything for you quickly. And also with the digital stores, there are so many aggregators around. Some take, I think the longest you will have is about a week. And being an artist, I don't think a week should be that long for you. Even the 1 week that you have, you can use that period to do pre-order. So the core fans can even make an order for your song before they come out officially. Yeah. It's about time we start doing the right thing. It's about time we all embrace the future. Because when we all embrace, you benefit, I benefit, everybody benefits. Yeah.
Sorry, hello? Just to add also, so just adding on to that, with regards to the time it takes to do the necessary registrations with the different collection societies, wherever, that's also where planning comes into place. Because technically, even if an aggregator, if I say it takes 1 week for me to put your music online, then before you release, because you will have your song before you release, you should actually schedule in your head that, okay, before I take it to radio, before the video, I need to make sure, before I release, it goes to Gamro. So that's where planning comes into place also. So it's important to plan, and that's where I was talking about the business. And you have to plan accordingly. It's not a hobby. You shouldn't just drop just because the song is there. If you've invested your time, which is technically you've invested money, because time is money, then you should be able to take the necessary steps to make sure you get your return on what you put in. And then also just to touch on Content Connect Ghana, with regards to, so Content Connect Ghana, as I said, the core business is aggregation. So we're responsible for putting your content onto different platforms. But because of we've seen we've recognized that there has been a need for investment in certain aspects. We do invest in projects, but obviously there's criteria as to how it would happen, and we've got our booth over there where you can get more information. But we have, so far, when you first entered the territory, I think one of the first artists we did some stuff, we've worked with, we've invested in projects with Miss V, with VVIP so far, even not last year's Hitmaker, the year previous, Frida Rhymes, who won as the prize money, CCG, as part of the package was we were going to also pay to cover the cost of her first music video. So these are ways that we've seen we can invest and what we have. Obviously, I'll be honest, we had to take a bit of a break because we realized about the regulations, the NCA, and sorting out these things, which we hadn't done. But thankfully, last year, we finally got our NCA license as well. So we'll be able to effectively operate properly now in Ghana as well.
Next question, please.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Father Rhymes, an artist and a producer too. I think most of my questions I had in mind has been answered. But one thing that is always on my mind is most Ghanaian bloggers, I think almost 90% of them have been through GIJ or something like that. But ask yourself that how many artists have been through music school? We are just being driven by the passion and the talent that we have. So if anything, you guys should be educating us or writing articles to let the government or policymakers put us in mind. Because when I was growing up, at least in primary school, we were doing music and dance. Ask yourself how many people are doing music and dance in their BCE. People drop out of school, and they still continue pursuing that passion. We do agric in school, which helped some of us to get that knowledge about, okay, after we plant tomatoes, we can process them into this and that and that. Are we doing that with our music? No. So sometimes, bloggers, please give us that break, because we go through a lot of thinking before we write our music. Yeah, it gets us depressed. It gets us into all sorts of social devices. Because when you have to go and carry pongpo, to go and record your stuff, you are not waiting for someone, because there are no record labels, and you know. So how do I get my song out there for me to also chop something? So please, give us a break, educate us, write articles to the policymakers so that they also put us in mind. Thank you.
Right.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nat Abe, and I'm a gospel musician. I've realized that I've been observing ever since I came to the conference, and I've realized that it's a platform that is not too conducive for some of us. I don't know whether it's because of the nature of the conference that is being done, but a couple of the songs that have been played, I've never heard any gospel song. That's the first thing. The second thing I also wanted to address is most of the artists that are on the platform in terms of your promotional platforms, I've not seen any gospel artist, any gospel musician on board. Is it that there's no platform for gospel music and gospel musician to be promoted? The other one I also want to address is apart from Uptown, which also give us a platform to sell our music in Ghana, which makes people to get sell their music through mobile money and others. There's no other platform I know of. Sorry? Personally, I don't know of any of Uptown. Thank you.
Next.
Yeah. Sorry, before you carry on. Gospel music is massive. And gospel music for us as labels is vitally important. If we look at the genres, I'm talking about streaming. Now, if you look at the normal streaming demographic. It's a youngster, it's youth orientated, it's somebody that is an online person, and obviously they're not listening all to gospel music, they're listening to Drake and the hip hop stuff, and that's why those numbers have been coming up. But it doesn't mean that gospel doesn't belong on a streaming service. It does, because we've started seeing those numbers translating. We've started seeing gospel music above all else shoot the lights out on the graphs. The problem we're having is securing that content for the platforms. Is it an area of focus for us? Most definitely it is. So please don't think that we've overlooked or forgotten about gospel. We know that gospel is the #1 genre in Africa, by far. So it's just that we need to engage more with the gospel community and try and understand where and how to put it on. You know, in Ghana alone, I know of 4 services that have got the music running. So we can chat afterwards, but please don't feel as if you've been left out. Gospel music's it's a priority for us.
All right. To our brother asked a question. So yes, the bloggers, I think if you've been reading some of our blogs, you know that we've been doing a lot of education on our blogs, how to brand yourself, how to plan your music release and all that. We've been doing that. Then I think in Ghana we have radio shows that do a lot of education as well. We have Daybreak Hits with Andy Dusty. We have one on xylophone, a couple of educative programs out there. But I think the most important thing you should do as an artist is to make sure that you upgrade yourself every day. That is the most important thing for me. Because here's the thing, music, as they said earlier, shouldn't be a hobby, it's business. You need to know people to work with. Even if you are working as an independent artist, ask yourself, at what point in time do I need a publicist? At what point in time do I need somebody from MTN? What do I need to do? But you see, it's a big problem, because even in Ghana, the top 5 artists in Ghana don't respect the other areas. Let me say, the PR aspects. We don't even, you know what I'm talking about. The big artists have less than 5 people in their team. And that is what the young generation is also emulating. But if they get to know that, okay, this artist has about 10 to 15 people working with them, the young ones will also love to do so. You don't release a song and send it to somebody on WhatsApp and expect your song to be out there. It's not done. So please, education is more important. Then to the brother who asked a question about gospel music. I know Sheldon is back there. He can even shoot a gospel music video within 2 minutes with his phone. And you know what I'm talking about. You see, I know that we are gospel musicians. Gospel music is a calling, in quotes. But we should go beyond that of and know that gospel music is business on its own. If you want to be respected like the Donnie McClurkin and all those people, then it means that you have to look at budgets. When you are producing your song, churches should also come in to help their members who are into active music. In recent times, I think we can be proud of Joe Mettle and the rest. But in the past, gospel music video, you can all conclude what you watch next. We should move beyond that level. Gospel music should go beyond the worship and praise kind of music. We should do songs that will equally be happy if we hear it out there. We should do global appealing content. Then people will be ready to listen to us. It's not that we have relegated gospel music to the background. No. As they said, gospel music is #1 in Africa. But we need to package ourselves so that when we are out there, people will not bypass us and go for other people. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Can I? Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Kobina Nyani, a musician and a producer. First off, I want to say a big thank you to MTN for this beautiful conference. And also thank you to our teachers. My question is, you've seen a series or the roadmap, the journey that music recording has gone through up to date. You've seen a change. But when it comes to registering with copyright or gambro, the system hasn't changed. the same old way. We should always go through the printing press, print a jacket, look for CD, and print. Now we know we don't need CD for anything. But still that old system. Now we all submit our music or our works through soft or digital ways. So what are we doing, or the leaders doing about this registration? Because as a producer, I have a lot of young musicians who have songs, but because they are not ready to do this launching, so they don't know how to go to market, buy CDs, buy print, and do this jacket. And so after everything, they just put it out there. So what new thing, the copyright and the Gambro is bringing on board for us so that we can always produce? Because last year alone, I was able to produce 48 tracks on my own. But 48. You know, right? But, I couldn't register them because I can't buy CDs and do all this, because after that, whatness. And you have to do about 1,000 copies from the printing press. So help us on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I want to repeat or re-echo something said here. We are doing show business. It's a business we are doing. So every aspect should be taken seriously. I believe the team at Gambro have some innovative ways of working. And if you walk into their offices, I'm sure they would keep you updated on how to do things. Yeah, they don't have Daddy Bosco. Okay, Uncle Rex. Okay, Uncle Rex is not around, but the whole point is, you as the creative person, the artist, you should understand that it's a business you are doing. Your creative content is your product. So before you can sell your product, you have to go through the process of registering that product before you can sell. So I think you should, that time or that investment should be taken seriously. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you, the artist, benefit from it.
Shh. Right. Please. Papi Kojo, Papi, you've not spoken. Oh, say.
Yeah, Andy.
At least you can share what you've learned so far, or if you have anything you want us to hear. Please, where's the microphone?
Andy.
Please, so can I have Papi Kojo?
Hello, Andy.
Right, and I see,
I'm on the mic.
Excuse me, gentlemen, please. I see Yasapon. Oh, I see that at KD2.
So I want
and
to
I see Yasapon. Who else? I've seen quite a number of top musicians. Samuel Lucy is here. Samuel Lucy is here. Thank you. Papi, so please.
Or can I finish?
Please go ahead.
Papi.
Yeah.
Will you let me speak?
Who is speaking?
That kid is speaking. Okay. Apparently, if I look around, I can see only few, apart from my brother, big brother, Samuel Owusu. I can practically say most of you might have grown from my music region. In as much as I stand here, I've never been so hopeful than today. I'm so elated because there are stuff that even as an old artist, I'll be celebrating my 25th year very soon. At least I have about 13 albums to my credit. I've never had a chance to be here early before I had a test from a friend, because when I look around, I would have wished to see more musicians, more than bloggers, if I can put it that way, but they are part of us as well. Because this is basically, it has to do a seminar that will have time to elaborate certain things Ghana musicians have no clue, including myself. And at this time, I would like to say that you've touched a lot of things, which for me, like I said, I'm a new clue to it. But I would just say that there have been a lot of damages done in our music industry. Me personally, I have about, let's say, 5 albums on iTunes. I have any idea who put it there for the past 10 years. I have consulted
my white lawyer in Germany. It's almost something or something. So I would like to ask, in as much as I have this album languishing on iTunes, I don't know who put it there, eating my blood, sucking my blood. At a point, a Ghanaian artist like me might not have a big platform like MTN platform to perform for my fans to know who is Dada KD, because it looks like I've suffered a lot when it comes about blogging, because the young guys will never relate to my music. Perhaps they will not even have the need to blog me because I don't have too much money. Meanwhile, the thing that I've seen here indicates that I am a rich man already. But somebody has put my song on YouTube. A lot of stuff that I even find so perplexing. Why? Who is responsible for all this? And when we touch about Gamlo, I saw my brother, he was just right here, he left. Rezoma. There have been 3 things during my regime taking a Gamro or royalties. The first man was Carlos Techi. He is a man, he took office. Normally, it's supposed to be 2 years in the office, but at a point, he reigned 4 years or something. This time, I want to make the story short. The reality is, how did they detect somebody like me who had as many as 13 albums, but every quarter of the year, I received 1,000 CDs. I will not be so afraid to tell. What is the criteria? How did they share the money? Because I've been told the amount that is being Gamro, you see the noise? The amount that is being given to Gamro is so huge, so enormous, that even if I can just assume we are about 10 musicians, coupled with the gospel musicians and all the genres, we are 10,000 musicians. And I could only have 2,000 Ghana cedis the whole year. And as somebody said, I should even thank my God for having that money. For me, this is an insult to my intelligence. And 2, we have a tradition, like we tag you, you are an old artist. Yes, I'm an old artist, but you don't need to tag me with it, because it rather, how do you call it, disparate organizers to put me on their shows.
Right. Well, Dr. KD, sorry to catch you in, but so what's your question, please?
It wasn't based, like, it wasn't treated as a question, but I think these are the key things we go through as a musician, because it could be your 10, very soon you'll be a musician. I know you're a DJ, you have a song and all that. We are talking about the Gamro issue because that is where the money needs to be accrued, so that my 30 album that I've produced so far will not be in vain. Thank you so much.
Right,
okay,
thank you.
Can I just, just 2 things. I can't answer on Gambro's behalf, but I can give you two points. One, you need to be careful how, and I think this goes back onto the education process, and how you register your product outside of Gambro. You can go onto YouTube and claim all your product under your titles. It's hard work. It needs people to be on there, monitoring consistently, but it can be done by your office quite easily. The iTunes aspect, it's a simple 24-hour music should have been off. So I don't know who you've been speaking to, but I'm happy to help you out. I'll give you my card, and we'll have your stuff off in 24 hours. Not that I deal with iTunes on a daily basis, but I think it all goes down to you monitoring consistently what's out there, and if it's registered properly, you can take it down straight away. It can be done.
Please, to add to what he just said, we have different generations over here. Now, I would say my generation is quite fortunate, because some of them know how to distribute their songs and all that. But my problem is our fathers, our uncles and all that. The problem is You see, as time goes on, things changed. Now, what he said is true. You go on YouTube and you see a lot of Ghanaian high life songs. Songs from, I don't want to mention names, but our legends all over YouTube. You check and somebody else is enjoying. And anybody who follows me very well on social media will tell you that I've been complaining about this thing all the time. Now, let's look at the way forward. Those living, I mean those who are alive, if you can, talk to somebody at MTN. There should be an agreement so that MTN will do all these distributions for you. Because majority of your audience, both old and young, are in Ghana. Then after that, find a better way to also distribute your songs to these foreign platforms like iTunes and Spotify. And make sure that you have a copy of the agreement. Then every month, you know how much and how it will even come to you. Now, apart from that, there is one thing that we need to do. You see, your career does not end when you don't have a hit song. It's forever and ever. Bob Marley is not there again. But we have people managing his content, and it's going to be there until the second coming of Christ. So please, what I'm trying to say, okay, which is not going to happen, that's what somebody said. So what it means is that whilst you are growing, whilst you are considering other professions, leave your content, your intellectual. We have lost and we are still losing too much. Some of us are ready up with their platform. Our forefathers. Yes, they should start from our forefathers. Please, can you mention one? Thank you. Because we still enjoy. Because you play music. No, see, please, what we are talking about is a serious issue. Because today, even the 12-year-old.
Okay.
That will be coming in.
Thank you. I agree with everything that you guys said. I totally do. But I feel like things are still difficult in Ghana. I feel like with Ghanaians, things are just difficult. It's not the same as in Nigeria and in South Africa, you know. Because even like a Ghanaian artist to get his music on you can see me on the thing. It's just when even an artist in Ghana to get their music on, let's say MTV Base or this, you know, it's even difficult. And when they get it, they don't play it as much as someone from Nigeria or someone from South Africa. So I totally understand that, and I get everything. So how do we work on that? You know, how do we shift the focus? Because, I mean, people are doing our music, you know. I consider myself to be, no, sorry.
Not legend.
Like a hip life artist, you know. I feel like it's hip hop, and then we do it in our own language, which is hip life. You know, I rap in fantasy. I consider myself to be a hip life artist, and that's what is happening right now. The hip hop is what we're doing in Ghana, and it's kind of like hip life. That's what we call hip life. So I just want to understand, what are we doing about this? Like, the Nigerians and the South Africans are singing our songs and everything, but how do we gain? How do we also get out there, you know? How do we get, what's the plan for us? And the same with the bloggers there, there will always be bloggers. this guy, you know that this guy, they go back and forth, you know that.
Janila.
Yeah, that's just it. And the MTN, it sounds so easy that, oh, you mobile money and then they'll buy it and get it. But I don't think it's that easy. I don't think people can actually, you know, with mobile money, I think it's deeper than that. You guys make it sound so easy, but I think it's really difficult for people to mobile money and then buy music and get it on their phone. I want to understand what you guys mean by that.
Yeah, Poppy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So let me give you an example. I think when we are done, you can just visit the Aftown booth. The platform is there. You're able to use mobile money to pay using MTN mobile money. You just go there, they will take you through that, and once you do that, people can buy using mobile money.
Okay, I understand that, but not everyone also has the phone where they can download Aftown and get an app to download the music. So,
Okay.
and I have crowd like that. So how do
Okay.
they get the music?
All right. So that you go to Content Connect Africa. We have CRBT. At least those who don't have phones that can have apps, they can have CRBT. Let me explain CRBT. When you call someone and you hear Amachi Dede's song, that's CRBT. That we pay for that. It's not free. Color Rimback tones. That's what I know people know. So once you go to...
You mean Caller iTunes,
Sorry?
Caller... When you call
Color Rimback tone.
No, I'm talking about the music, the full music.
So okay. So with the app, currently to be able to distribute it, you need the app. The other channel, which we call MTN Radio, that you don't need an app, is IVR. Okay, so once you get to the aggregator, they will take you through all the other channels that when you register, they will make your music available. That's why we are urging you, once you are done, just pass by, they will take you through. Then all the channels that you want your music to be, they will be able to get it done for you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, sorry. I think we're missing the point. I don't think it's as easy as I'm not professing to say it's easy. Get the app, and I know the issues. I know the issues that data is expensive. I know the issues that not everybody has a smartphone. Nobody has the intellect or the education on how to do it. I think that is a bigger industry issue, and forums like this will help us get to a point where we can get it away, where we educate ourselves and come up with ideas. And the bloggers and the record companies and the copyright guys and the aggregators, I think it's time that we get together and try and understand, well, how do we get our music? How do we get our legends' music out there? I think it's easy. We've got the technology, but it's not easy. And I wish I had the answer for you. And if I did, I'd probably, I wish I had the answer for you. I don't. It's not as easy as it sounds. I think we're coming off a very horrible space. And I'm talking not only on behalf of the South African market that I know very well, but I'm talking just as an African thing. We've coming off where I think a lot of artists have been taken for rides. A lot of artists have been promised things that haven't been delivered. A lot of artists have died poor. I looked after Brenda Fassie for 7 years. I sold nearly 6.5 million records. She died poorer than the poor. And it's unfortunate. And I think it all comes down to understanding where we all fit in the ecosystem and how do we work together to make it work. There is no easy solution. I think it would be great if you could just say, hey, here, buy a CD and go out, or whatever. It's how do we tailor-make projects for people? And I don't have the answer for you today. But I think this is a starting point for Ghana to try and maybe get into working groups, or if MTN or whoever it is tries to just try get the role players involved to start it going forward. I don't know how else to answer you.
No, we are not.
And then with regards to the question you spoke about, the television platforms, like the Trace and the MTV bases and how it's a struggle. I can't speak on behalf of them, but I think it's very much relationship based from what I've witnessed also. It's sometimes within these channels and stuff, it is relationship based. It's about knowing the right people to put it into the right hands. So that is often the challenge, is that you're not getting it to the right hands. That's number one. And when I'm saying that, I know sometimes on the website it might say just upload here, then send here. That doesn't mean it's getting into the right hands. So two things in my head. It's that, getting it into the right hands, and I mean, if it's a situation where we need to exchange details to make that happen, that's fine, and we can have those conversations. But also I also think it's got to do with also mobilization of the Ghanaian industry and artists. Thanks to the internet, you can directly start these conversations where they're starting a hashtag, play our music, and you tag Trace, and keeping those and creating that awareness to the point where now Trace will have to take notice, like, okay, everyone from Ghana, play our song hashtag is now trending. There's a problem, so therefore there's something there. Because I also think it is to do with also demand, and I mean, countries like Nigeria with the population, it's so much easier because I mean there's demand. South Africa as well, it's got to do, it's all well established that the structure and stuff. A lot of the other countries, with exception to East Africa, because I've seen East Africa has somehow they've mobilized, as in they've created their Mziki, there's Trace Mziki now, which is strictly East African music, not just, it's mobilization and coming together as an industry and talking with one unified voice is where we'll start to see a difference, because the reality is everyone, even as artists, there is competition between you to get the biggest hit. We understand that, but in it, as an industry, there's a greater picture where I think, and when I'm saying this as an African even, not even because I'm not Ghanaian, but we can all work together to mobilize and get these things going. Because even in Zimbabwe, artists have the same issue, and this is the same thing I say to them. Maybe it's a matter of time where we mobilize and we actually start getting the attention of these platforms, because there's enough of us here to do that. So that's my response to that.
So I would want us to take the last set of questions.
Okay, we're here from the back. We're here from the back. We are here from the back. We have the mic from the back.
Okay, no, the mic.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Isaac Filson from Play Africa. And I know some people know Play Africa. Play Africa is the biggest music library in Ghana now. Yeah, we have over 180 music sign up. What I want to say about the discussion that is going on from my brother Jonila and Fifi's point of view. If you look at the artist management structure here we have in Ghana here, I can tell you it's 95% very weak, because we don't even have the business managers aspect of that in there. Sorry to say, some people are managers because he has money to give to artists. Maybe you meet this lady, you give her money, 1,000 cedis, go and record with Apietus. After you record with Apietus, he take you to the Andidosti show. He comes back and he calls himself a manager. Now, the other channels where he thinks, or all these platforms that are there that they have to look into to make money from those platforms for their music, they don't research. So all their work is somebody calls him for show, they hear this show, let's go. We put it on, and they are managers. And I would advise that if you have a record label here, you're a manager, and you cannot do those work, employ somebody as a business manager to do that, because there are a lot of avenues for this that they can get for you, so that they do the copyright, they do the streaming, they do all those things for you. And again, we need to understand the streaming business. We really need to understand the streaming business. What rates are they giving? So if my music has been streamed 1 million times on Play Africa, how much would they give to me? If my music has been streamed 1 million times on Aftown, how much are they going to give to me? And I will urge our Ghanaian artists, because currently we have about 12.5 million youth who are using Android in this country. And all these guys are streaming. When you see Drake has streamed over 600 or whatever billion, it is real. Because if I have all songs of Dada KD, and he's my favorite artist, I'll put it on replay. I have all his albums, I'll put it on replay. Meda Ebo, when I wake up, he's playing. Each and every day he's playing, and all this is money for these people. So we need to understand the streaming business itself. So I know that Spotify is giving me this amount. I know iTunes is giving me this amount. So how do I market the link I get? Fifi Adinkra says something, and I don't want to cut his head off. They know that the link you give to them, that's what they market. If you give him MP3, he will market MP3 for you. If you give him the link, he will put the link for them for you. At the end of the day, if he has to take a token from you, he will still take it. But at the end of the day, why don't we consider the fact that, okay, my music is on Aftown, it's on Play Africa, it's on iTunes. So let me give this link to the person. So if Fifi Adinkra has about 1 million followers on Twitter, and he tweets to these people, at least less 1/3 of them go there and stream the music, and you make that money. I tell people that I mean that if I invest 1,000 cedis in my music, and at the end of the year, even if 2 people stream, and let's say 2 cedis for me, at least I've made a profit. At least I've made a profit from those kind of music. So we should also consider that aspect and understand the streaming business itself, so that it will pass. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, hello.
So I would want us to take the final batch of questions, and then we wrap it up.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Techi. Please, I have two questions here to ask. My first question is, how do you guys protect our music? Because now we are talking about you putting our songs on a platform. We are preventing the bloggers from like sharing it for free. So let's say like you are advertising Aftown here. If I put my song there on Aftown and a blogger download it and then put it on his platform for people to download for free, how do you protect or prevent that from happening? And then two, my other question goes to Munya, right? Munya, yes. When you were talking about the royalty beat, I didn't see a session for beat makers. Because here in Ghana, a lot of beat makers, they are not necessarily producers. They make the beat and then send it to an artist. And then the artist take the beat, write on it, and give it to his producer to produce it. So where does he get money from the revenue bit? Thank you.
So on your first question regarding how we protect your music, if you're assigned to Universal Music, you have a special identity as in your metadata. And what we do, be it SoundCloud that we're not licensed to, or be it any of the free services, we're monitoring that every single day. And as soon as it goes up, it gets pulled down automatically because it's been taken by us as Universal owned. So if you sign with us, you're an artist to Universal Music, or you'd be an artist to CCA, or to Sony, or to Warner. There's a unique identifier that as soon as it goes up, it stops anybody else from uploading it, if they take it down, or if they download it, and also it monetizes your music, so that at least you're earning some money. There is processes that can be done.
And I think creative content as in music should be well protected. If your content is well protected and someone without your consent uploads it, then you have the right to go after the person. So you first need the link to where they uploaded it. You can even request the person to take it down. If they don't take it down, then your content managers, as the big man said, would have to come in and take it down.
Just to answer your second part now. So there were 3 columns. On the third one, there was one that said producer once-off fee. So I just wanted to differentiate. When I was presenting earlier and I said producer, and I said, for me, the producer is almost a musical director. So there's 2. So there is producer who's a musical director who's, as I said, I explained earlier what they do. But there's also, there's also the beat maker. So the beat maker can get paid off a once-off fee. That was where, but I put it, and what I'll do is I'm going to change it in my next presentation to differentiate, so that you see that in the third column where I said producer once-off fee, I was referring to the beat maker. And that's where so as you, the beat maker, you send your beat, the artist likes it, then there can be a once-off fee where you just get paid outright once for your beat and it's done. But it also varies on the structure, because also a beat maker, to be honest, can actually be part of the other structure where you can earn a percentage. It just depends on the negotiation that happens on the table, and that's it really.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Demographics, artist manager for Nene Seno, and host of the latest show, the Car Radio Show. Okay, my question is to the bloggers and then those who want to invest in the music business. At what point are you ready to work with upcoming artists? Because we released Praise. Before we dropped the song, I did underground work to talk to some bloggers, and I said, oh, can I meet you for this kind of business, ABCD? You don't have money. You're an upcoming person. I said, no. I have a team. We want to meet you and talk. So as music business runners, are you interested in the mainstream artists, or you're ready to work with new artists coming up? Because you don't have time for the new artists. You tag somebody in something, they don't even check who you are. They ignore you. I experienced it with KOD. And then I went to look for him. I'll mention him, don't worry. No, I went to look for KOD. I gave him the CD. He looked at it, he was like, somebody sent me this. I'm like, yeah, I did it. And then from there, he got interested in what I was doing. So, when are you ready to work with upcoming arts? Thank you.
Okay.
Let's put them all in the box so you answer them. I think that would be quite faster. Next question, please.
Hi and good afternoon. My name is Kwesi Ofori, and I want to thank MTN for this. And I might say that this is not the first of its kind, because I heard an earlier speaker say that these kind of conferences have not been done. But I must urge all the musicians here that during the Ghana Music Week, Musica kind of organizes these kind of seminars which the artists don't attend. So you might have to be paying attention to some of these announcements. Musica does well sometimes to organize and put together these seminars, which you go and nobody is there. I mean, the artists don't come. So please do well to be attending. I would want to also touch on the fact that we seem to have penetration problem in this part of the world where, for example, a payment system like PayPal doesn't even work here in Ghana. So when it comes to putting your music out there, a lot of people will agree with me that if you are in Ghana and, for example, you want to put your music on iTunes through TuneCore, you can't register through Ghana. You might need, I don't know, if anybody knows another method, you can educate me. But you need an account in US or UK. And these things don't help us, because if I'm in Ghana and I need to put my music on iTunes and I have to go through an account in UK or US, if I don't know anybody in US, what do I do? You get it? So I think that Universal Music and these global conglomerates should enter our market, because it is this kind of penetration that will give us or put us on the map where, you know, we can also be able to get platforms, and the iTunes and the TuneCores will open up to us for us to be able to upload directly from here. My last, my question now goes to the bloggers. Many a times you hear music and then you are listening to the music and you hear GhanaMusic.com in the music. I mean, somebody does their music, you upload it, and then you tag your website. Is it right for that to be done? Is it right for somebody, a blogger? You hear all sorts of funny jingles and all sorts of funny tags in the music, like like, you know, download music from. I think it's wrong for people to be putting their tags on artists' music. Just upload the song. For me, yes, I might not have paid you to do it, but that doesn't give you the right to put your tag on the song that everywhere you are listening to music, you are hearing, yes, I downloaded it from your site, so.
Right. Well, thank you very much. You are the only person that says penetration without hesitation. Says it freely. Okay, so that, okay, let's take the last question, right.
My name is Warren G, yeah. My name is Warren G. And I'm an artist too. I believe the problem has a bigger picture here. The problem is with the industry. You get it? We need to build the industry first. Now we have Aftown, we have Play Music Africa, but we are focusing on Spotify. Do you get it? Now, in Ghana here, they can use MTN mobile money, Tigo Cash, and whatever. But on Spotify, they can use Visa card and stuff. And people don't even like doing that. So once we have the Play Music and the Aftowns here, why don't we promote that very well? Do you get it? Let's build ours. And then when Universal comes in, Universal will check with Aftown or Play Music and know that, yeah, now they have good following here, so we can join with them. You see that Universal will pick Aftown onto their platform. Now you can get Drake's music on Aftown, and it's going like that. Now to the bloggers too. So, what happens to a blogger posting your song without you knowing? Just last week, Mensah had to tweet at a blogger to take off his song. Now, a friend was sitting beside me and uploaded a designer's song on SoundCloud. And within 5 seconds, the song was taken down. And he was given an email not to post anything related to that song. Now, there are supposed to be measures in Ghana here to handle things like that. Because when Mensa had to go to the blogger on Twitter to tell the blogger to take off the song, what if Mensa wasn't on Twitter at that time? You get it? So I'm saying it that the problem is a bigger picture. It's with the industry. That's what I feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, so
Andy.
we are done.
Yeah.
Hello.
Before you start as answering, food is ready. And your lunch is ready. Yeah. I hear Banku and things.
Andy.
Right, so yes.
Okay.
Please.
All right, so please.
Okay. Janila, I hear there's one final question.
Good afternoon. First
Charlie,
of all,
Bozu, see say they start the mama. Sake of the show.
Oh, very short, man. To France, my name is Jar West. As an artist, I do all type of music.
Boss, please.
Okay, first of all, my question goes to the producers and the management team. What I see to it is like, first of all, we have more source talent on the street, in the ghettos. Yeah. But what I see is in Ghana, the management and the producers, they look to, if you have maybe Ufie Kakra. So when you come and maybe your family is supporting in what you are doing with a little bit push of money, then you are an artist to blow. But when I look back to the street, and I mean the real ghettos, the real hustlers, we have more talent, very good ones. They can do real music from the heart. But because all hands are not equal, they don't have others what they are, support with. So it is like we have been dumped somewhere. They don't look to them. Maybe you will be linked to somebody that, oh, I know maybe DJ Ganja. So let me give you DJ Ganja number. You just call DJ number. Okay, fine. Send me some of your song through WhatsApp. I'll listen. You can send that music through the WhatsApp. Trust me. He will even take a look for even a couple of months. You can call. He can even tell you, I'm driving. And I don't know if the car that that person is driving doesn't have a stop or a parking point. You understand?
Right. Okay, so Rasta, what's your question?
My final question is, we should just have time for the need ones. It doesn't matter where that person is coming from. You say you are producers, management, and let me say bloggers. Just step on the street and look for the poor souls and help them go. There are more talent on the street.
Right, thank you. All right.
Okay. The first one. Okay, let me just start with our brother because that one is fresh in mind. I think, you see, music, as we said, is a business. It's also a process. And you need time to grow yourself, to understand how things are supposed to be done. Because you're talking about sending a song to somebody on WhatsApp, that is even the worst thing to even talk about, because it is not done that way. Because the essence of this conference today is to address how we can make money from these digital platforms today. How to do it. So my brother, take your time and learn the craft properly. I believe you will definitely be one of our biggest artists in the future. Now, with bloggers putting songs on their website, I can confidently say that 99.9% of the songs that you see out there on the various websites come from the artists themselves. One, through email. Now they have downgraded it to WhatsApp. And now they even send you the file through Facebook Messenger. Oh, but also my song be that, so you go fit publish and then send me the link right now. I only need the link. I know they need the song, only the link. So the problem is not from the bloggers, it's from you, the artist. The way you approach somebody, the same way they will address you. You don't send your song to somebody via Facebook Messenger and expect them to reply you. Because the blogger is also a business person. He has a family to feed. He has people working with. Most people think that, okay, talking about blogging is only one person. But it's a group of people working together. And that is business on its own. Now, let's move on to these platforms.
let me address Papi first, because he said we made it look very simple, but it's not like that. As a fan of Papi Kojo, who has been listening to songs from Relano down to the new one, I want him to understand that getting songs to people in the remote areas these days is even possible, because we are in Accra. They even send us message. They even use WhatsApp more than we even send to them. It is possible. Let me give you an instance. I think 2-3 years ago, a nude video leaked on WhatsApp. Who remember that thing? Nude video. Within an hour, an individual was able to prevent that video from going viral. That means that everything is possible in Ghana.
That woman, yo.
Everything is possible in Ghana. It means that our leaders know how to address some of the challenges that the music industry is facing. So for me, I believe that it's possible. It is possible for any fan in any part of Ghana to have an Aftown app, play music, the one that MTN is bringing. That is the most important thing. It comes back to you as an artist. Before you put your songs out, let your fans know that it's going to be available on these platforms so that they prepare their mind. Those who are supposed to subscribe, they subscribe. Those who are supposed to sign up, they sign up, because that is where they are supposed to get the music. So, Papi, that one comes back to you. Let them know that your next song is going to be available on Aftown, Music Time, and all these platforms. If they want to subscribe to Color Ring Backtone, this is the code to subscribe. That is the way to go. Now, for the free services we are talking about, please, we need money-based industry to work with. The reason why I'm saying this is that we should stop running our industry on favors. If you are supposed to pay somebody for production, pay them. We keep comparing ourselves to Nigerians. We keep comparing ourselves to South Africans and all that. Yes, everybody knows when to help. But when it is money, it's money. Hope I'm making some sense. I'm not sure today you can walk to Aftown and say, oh, put my song over there because my friend is Antoine. It's not done like that. If you are supposed to pay somebody to get your service done, please do so. Now, somebody talk about the IDs you hear in songs. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure you've heard that in songs you downloaded from my platform or his platform. As a matter of fact, I can say, even our big boss, George Britton, and others don't do it. For whatever reason, they put their ID in their songs. I can't tell. So this is the way forward. When you are sending them your song, tell them, boss, I know I'll make I hear that thing for your song inside. Or my song inside. Hope that is clear. Let them know. So if you are truly paying them to put your song on their platform, they are supposed to obey what you tell them to do. And I think it's unprofessional to have your IDs in people's song. Please, with all due respect, we should stop putting website in people's song. It is not good. Then this comes back to our Don over here and all the people who matters. Now, from all the questions and submissions that is coming, it means that the new generation need a lot of these seminars to educate them on the way forward. 20 years from now, how are they going to continue marketing their songs? Papi is relevant today. 12, 20, I'm not predicting this thing, but 15 years from now, he won't be giving attention to music. He will be spending time with his kids to do homework and all that. How does... Hallelujah. The question is, how will people keep buying? How will his kids' friend know that their father's first song was Relano? That is one key thing. That is the problem we are facing today. So please, when you start music today, start planning for tomorrow so that you don't start developing that hatred. Oh, because I'm not relevant, they are not playing my music. No, you need to plan it. Let's learn from people like Ochame Kwame and the rest. They are really doing great. They don't release songs, but they are still relevant. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. And I want to touch on the music downloads. We all need to get something right. Music is supposed to be purchased, but streamed. Music isn't supposed to be shared. So after recording, anybody who gets your music should have acquired it through those means. They bought it, they streamed it through some platforms. Now, if you give your song to someone to share the MP3 file for free download, I'm a blogger. I run a music blog. I want everyone to understand something. the song on the bloggers do not sell them. Everyone downloads that song for free. So meaning you, the artist, you are putting your song out for people to download for free. You are losing. I must say the truth. You are losing. Now, the right way to go about it is go through the right process. Get a content manager, aggregator, the publishers to register your content before you go to the bloggers. Don't be in a rush to make the song blow. Because if you send a song to a blogger and he puts out a full song for downloads, even that is not right. The blogger isn't supposed to share the whole song. But here is the case, the artist will tell you, yo, put my song out for free download. So we all need to understand what we are doing, educate ourselves on, okay, how do I get my YouTube channel monetized? That one, the answer is simple. You get a content manager or aggregator to do that for you. How do you register Spotify and all that? We are talking about people making $5,000 from Spotify. You get an aggregator to do that for you. MTN has this, MTN Music Plus and all that. They have aggregators working on all those things. So after recording, you sign up to them. And most often, it's a one-time subscription. You sign up, and then every content that you release, they take care of it. So you register with Aftown, all these people, MTN Plus and all that. And whenever you release a song, they take care of it for you. It makes the work easier. And in that instance, you even benefit more. Because you cannot, hit is not guaranteed. Nobody knows the next big song. But when you go through the right process or the right procedure, then you can be assured of some little income. Even if you are not benefiting, you get a little to take care of the studio session and the money is paid for that.
Right.
So just last thing to add is that the reason why such conferences are so important and why they're so good is because it creates this conversation, and part of it is to educate. What I do recognize is model of when the reason why artists were sending to bloggers is because the model was that the only way for me to get money is to get performances. So for the best way for me to get performances is I need as many people to hear it. So therefore the people who have the ears and the listeners are the bloggers. So therefore I give to the blogger, he puts it out, people download it for free, they like my music, I get booked for a performance. So now the reason for these as an artist, how where these international artists are actually living their lives, as I said, even some guys are just literally writers. Imagine for a living, they're able to feed their family because all they do is they write, they're registered correctly, they're composing music, and that's all they do. So the purpose of these things is to educate you, just to show you that there are new ways of making, they're not new ways, they've always been there, it's just that they've never been actioned because the structures have not been in place correctly. But now, these structures are now in place. The correct people are here. Pino's here from Universal. I'm here from Content Connect. And there are other aggregators, I'm sure, as well. These are the people you can reach out to if you want to put your stuff on iTunes. I'll tell you this, iTunes doesn't take direct music from any artist because technically TuneCore is an aggregator as well. It's just an international aggregator, whereas we all can do the same function as what TuneCore. In actual fact, it's probably even better to utilize one of us because when you've got a problem with TuneCore, who are you going to call? Who are you going to email? Whereas at least with people who are local and on the ground, who you know where the office is, you've got a local number, you can call if there's an issue. It's actually even in your benefit to try and work with people like us rather than a TuneCore or a CD Baby and the like. But anyway, going back to my point is, starting now, we need to reset our minds and start opening up to the new opportunities of making revenue through the different channels of which I've shared earlier.
Right. Okay. I believe the interaction has been very, very fruitful and nice. Now, please, I need your attention for just a few more minutes before we get out to enjoy our lunch. Please, allow me to invite in a representative from Kisima. Yes, Kisima. Please, if I may get a rep from, thank you very much. Ooh, so you're right here. Right. But for now, let me say a big thank you to Fifi Edinkra. Special thanks to Pino. Special thanks to you, Munya, and Jonila. Thank you.
Do we have a clicker? Someone was using it, but I don't know which one.
Vic, can I get a clicker, please? Oh, sorry. So that's the only thing. Each time you demonstrate it with your hands, it turns out to be an insult.
So you'll be doing it from down there. No problem. Okay. It's an honor and privilege to be amongst you today. My name is Sakile Kulu, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Kisima Audio Insights. We are 100% Ghanaian built, but I think we're 20 or 30% South African owned because I'm South African, and my other co-founders are Ghanaian, but we can pass that through because I look like a Ghanaian, they say. Yeah, so a bit about us. We had a goal that we wanted to revolutionize the African music industry through technology, and after spending a lot of amounts of money, we came out and we built a product called Kisima Audio Insights, and it makes us one of the best people in the industry to do it because of the expertise that we've had in various monitoring parts of the business. Next slide. Yeah, so what we did is we built an engine which will allow us to basically be able to, we hope will be the foundation of the music industry in the future. And click quickly, just click towards the end. And so this engine that we've built is, we hope to be the foundation of the music industry going forward, will allow us basically to monitor trends in the music industry, airplay, which is a product that we'll be demonstrating down there, charts, insights, and basically audience measurement and downloads and monetization, and also basically help with royalties. Next slide, please. And so the product so far, which we are proud to say has won 2 global awards, World Summit Award for the most innovative digital solution in the business and commerce category, which was the first African startup to actually win in that category. We've also were nominated by Primavera Pro as one of the top 5 up-and-coming music startups in the world, and that was the first time an African startup has ever also been brought onto that list as well. Next slide. And so what Kisima is, essentially, is a platform that allows you to track the usage of your music. If your music is played on radio, particularly in any part of the world, what we've also now recently added is the ability for you to be able to track the usage of your music on television as well. Next slide. And so what we've also done is now integrated social media. And what social media allows you to do is, as an artist, you can now benchmark yourself across various platforms. So you now know how you're doing on radio, you now know how you're doing on television, but you also now know what people are saying about your music as well. Next slide. Click. And so essentially what Kisima allows you to do is know where your music is being played. Recently we just did some work with Nasty C from Universal. When he came to Ghana to perform at the VGMAs, he wanted to know which songs of his Ghanaians liked the most. And only we could give them that type of data. And the funny thing is, the song that he performed last was a song that he did not like the most, but Ghanaians liked the most. And that's the thing, with data, it allows you to get engaged with your audience much better. Next slide. And so with Kisima, you can basically monetize your music through promotions. You know where your music is being played. You now know where to go. For example, the example I just gave you at Nasty C. Nasty C now knows that his music is loved in Ghana, and these are some of the market he's now focused on. Next slide. Click. And so yeah, what the platform also allows you to do is also compare yourself, right? Compare yourself with other artists. For example, if someone is doing this well, and you can compare yourself how you are doing in comparison to a Kwame Eugene, which also tells you how far you are from basically the best in the country as well. Next slide. And so the technology behind this product is probably some of the best in the world. Companies that use similar technologies are companies like Shazam, YouTube, Music Match, Soundchart, SoundHound, and BMatch. So we are proud to say that as an African company, we are also using some of the best technology in the world. And some of the people that we serve, we work with individual artists, we work with managements and record labels, and we also work with royalty collection agencies. For example, a new thing that we're about to release is the ability for you to know where your music is being played in terms of the biggest nightclubs in the world. So now we can do radio, we can do television, but now we're also going to integrate the ability for you to now be able to tell which nightclubs across the world are playing your music, including in Ghana as well, which will also give you a better understanding of where your music is being played across the globe. Next slide. Yeah, that's all from us. If you want a product demonstration, go down there. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that'll be it for now. That'll be it for now. Oh, everything's sorted. Everything is sorted. You want to add on something? Right. Okay, so we are done. Please feel free to check the experiential shops. Just go through the booths and check out the products MTN have on display. The next stop for the MTN DMC is in Kumasi. All right, so kindly tell your friends in Kumasi that we're coming back there, and I'm very sure you've had a great time. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Andy Dusty. Tomorrow, tune in to Hits 103.9 FM in the morning and listen to me on the radio. Bye for now.
In real life, there's no buffering. So why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to the home from MTN. MTN Home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband from the Internet Masters.
MTN, everywhere you go.